have all the resources that you need now, whether it's YouTube, whether it's the internet in general, that can help provide a foundational base for most of the business endeavors that you want to pursue. So there's no excuses, right? If you don't have an opportunity to go to college, you still have an opportunity to access the information.
How you doing, James?
Hey, I'm well. Thank you for having me, Eric.
Thank you so much for coming out today, man. Appreciate it.
Oh man, looking forward to it. Awesome. 35 years, an awesome platform, and I'm happy to be, one of those, very, very, honored, guests to be here to share my story, and hopefully it can inspire, some youth and some other entrepreneurs out there as well.
And I know you're doing like a lot of amazing work with Taylor athletes, and also you're very involved in entrepreneurship and mentoring the youth. Can you please tell me about like that experience with being a young person, running a business, and also like what inspired you to pursue this career?
Well, I'll just take it back to the beginning, right? So everybody has a story, it's like, what was that spark that got you into entrepreneurship? For me, I was a young 11, 12-year-old young man growing up in Central Florida. My family was in the citrus industry, as well as, general contracting and constructing. So I've always seen my family be hard workers. And around 11, 12 years old, I believe I wanted to go buy a new bicycle. Mom and dad was like, "Babe, son, we can't afford it." And my first access to entrepreneurship was walking around the neighborhood in the communities of Haines City, Florida, with a long stick with a nail on the bottom of it, picking up cans. From there, my grandfather, taught me what precious metal was and the value of that. So I became a young entrepreneur by going out. I would go to the Walmart or the Family Dollar store, buy a box of garbage bags, and I would begin to take them to my neighbors. Monday through Friday, hey guys, if you have any soda cans, any beer cans, any kind of cans, please put them in this garbage bag for me. I would come around in the afternoon and collect them. And my grandfather would take me to the aluminum plant, and I would turn them in and I would get some money. It's like, oh man. So I believe to buy that Walkman, I believe, right, back in the day, right? And then once you get the Walkman, I was able to save and get that bicycle that I wanted. And that was my first, taste of entrepreneurship. And then from there, began cutting lawns and things of that nature to earn a little money. So that was my first introduction of entrepreneurship. And throughout high school, I was, someone who was bit by the sports bug, but I also kept that passion for, entrepreneurship and building things. So it began there. And, once I, once I became a good basketball player and did all that stuff and went to college and got to college, I started my first company in college. It was at Lynn University. It was called Urban Excellence, and we provided after school programming and scholarship advice for local families in the area. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? It's about, taking risks, defying the odds. I learned a lot of that early on from my family. But when I was in college, I was a freshman in college. I was also a father of a beautiful, 4-month-old, little baby girl when I arrived in college. And although I was on a full athletic scholarship, it wasn't enough, right? So I had to find these crazy, unique ways. So I was the on-campus barber for a little while, helping out my teammates and some people who went to college there at the university. But then when we started Urban Excellence, we got out in the community, began to create these workshops to help, families, find, scholarship opportunities. I knew then that, entrepreneurship was a path that I wanted to pursue, and managing, practices, class schedules, along with trying to launch a business, proved to be very, very difficult. But it gave me the training ground to step out once I, got done playing professional basketball to launch my company, Tailored Athletes. And once we got started, it was pro at your door, driving around to people's homes in a Toyota Scion XB, had a basketball hoop hooked up to the back of it, and there was no excuse to not have basketball training in this community. I would bring it directly to them. And that was my first, major, idea that began to just spawn off to multiple different training opportunities. And before I knew it, 3 or 4 years had went by, and we're honored at the White House, one of the top 100 companies ran by entrepreneurs age 30 and under, and then the rest has been history.
Awesome. Keep up the great work and
Thank
what
you.
you're doing. And also, I want to ask you this: what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders that want to pursue entrepreneurship and also like do things in the community and also provide mentorship?
Got you. So, to the future entrepreneurs, what I would say is that you have all the resources that you need now, whether it's YouTube, whether it's the internet in general, that can help provide a foundational base for most of the business endeavors that you want to pursue. So there's no excuses, right? If you don't have an opportunity to go to college, you still have an opportunity to access the information. Just finding the right information and learning how to decipher between the two would be some advice I would give young entrepreneurs. I would also tell them not to be afraid to share their vision. Oftentimes, even some of the mentors I've had, hey, be careful about sharing that vision. Hey, be careful about telling someone about this particular business opportunity that you're pursuing. They may try to steal your idea. I can just tell you that, I've launched at least 7, 8 companies, 6 months, a year prior to doing them all. I'm telling everybody about them. I want people to hear them. I want to get direct feedback. I want people to say, hey, that sounds good, and ask more probing questions to help me, also figure out exactly if this business model is going to actually be viable or not. That would be another piece of advice I would say for those, and then to be bold and just try. But you have to figure out a way to get money. Money is the really important part of after you having a vision, is figuring out how much money do you need in order to start a business. Where can you get the money from? Whether it be traditional lending options, venture capitalists, whether it be going to friends and families to raise a couple rounds. That would be what it would be, I think.
And also, I have another question for you. So, how many basketball students do you serve through Taylor Athletes?
So as of today, we probably work with, on an annual basis, directly in our Tailored Athletes Basketball Training Academy, our travel basketball teams, our winter, spring, summer basketball camps that are held in multiple cities across the state. We're serving at least 1,000 kids a year just through those particular mediums. When we look at our tournament business, where we're hosting 35 to 50 events a year all around the country. We average about 100 teams an event, and we're bringing in thousands of kids indirectly there. What's most unique is that we still have a really big private training business as well, where myself and several other trainers that have been with the organization are out monthly and working with kids on a day-to-day basis, privately in their home, in very safe spaces with their parents' supervision, to provide that quality training that they need, and to keep parents from having to run around and take Johnny to soccer, take Sally over to gymnastics. We try to eliminate all of that run and tear and wear and tear on the body and on the car by providing trainers to come directly to them. So even with that program, we're working at about anywhere between 25 to 30 students a month in our private training capacity. So we're very fortunate to be more than just a basketball training company. We're we're running events, and then when we get into the mentorship with our foundation, which is doing some after school programming here at a couple of elementary schools, that has anywhere between 20 to 30 students a month. But when you think about after school programs and what our foundation does, it's not just about those individual kids or athletes, right? We sisters and siblings are affected by this because young people are learning about leadership, they're learning about character, they're learning about discipline, they're learning about the value themselves, right, and self-esteem and all of those things. So then that permeates within the home structure. And so we're serving mothers and fathers as well as, for what we do with their kids, it's providing them with hope. And then the connections within the families that are part of our weekly academies, mothers and fathers on the sideline begin to build relationships and connections because, although I live in Boca Raton and I'm an executive of this company, I live in Pompano Beach and I'm not an executive, I'm just trying to make it day by day, right? But sport now becomes that leveling space that provides everybody to just be human. And those connections and relationships are made, and we're seeing lives being transformed every day simply because, basketball is one of those, mechanisms that can be inclusive.
Thank you so much for your time, James.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.